Episode 2.
Yay!
The Mouse and the Goof. Here we go.
Yay!
So, first episode was really fun. We talked about Wish. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
Go back and watch it or listen to it.
Okay, why am I being so obnoxious?
I
Tone
don't
it
know.
down. So, we left a few Easter eggs in that first episode, hinting at what we were going to do next. We didn't actually know what we were going to do next.
It's true. I was going to say.
But it just made sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and the crazy thing is both of us thought of it. Like, we didn't even really talk about it. We were just kind of like, oh, I wonder what we should do next. Oh, maybe we should do this. Oh, you were thinking that too? Okay.
Well, because we had a list of other movies that, like, we, our favorites or we thought we might do. But let's tell the people. We're going back to the beginning, to where it all started.
All the way back.
We're doing Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Woo!
Yay!
The crowd applauds. No, too much. Tone it down.
No, you're fine.
So, if you don't know the story of Snow White, I don't really know why you're tuning into our show.
Wow, that's not fair. I actually know people that just haven't watched it yet, and it's just, I know someone that's a little younger than us that hasn't seen The Lion King still. Yeah.
Do they call themselves a Disney fan?
Not really, but they're adults and should have watched it by now.
It's not your husband, is it?
No, he's seen it. That's one of his favorites. No.
Okay, good.
Okay, so the synopsis for Snow White, if you'll indulge me. It came out, or release date was December 21st, 1937. It's the grim fairy tale gets a Technicolor treatment in Disney's first animated feature. Jealous of Snow White's beauty, the wicked queen orders the murder of her innocent stepdaughter, but later discovers that Snow White is still alive and hiding in a cottage with 7 friendly little miners. Disguising herself as a hag, the queen brings a poisoned apple to Snow White, who falls into a death-like sleep that can be broken only by a kiss from a prince, which I thought was True Love's first kiss, but I might be mixing that up with another Disney movie.
No, I think you're right. True Love's first. Yeah, I think that was right. I know it said first kiss to the point where I looked at it and I was like, so if she's kissed anyone before, then, she's just dead?
Now, does that have to be lip contact, or is that any kind of kiss? Because she definitely kissed all of the dwarves on the forehead. So.
Well, she kissed them before. Yeah. I don't know the rules. The evil spellbook wasn't really specific.
It didn't get into that, no. It's unfortunate.
Also, just since we're just diving straight in. So, the evil queen makes the apple, does the spell, makes the apple, and then she's like, wait a second, I better double check to see if there's any way to break this. And that's when she realized.
Yeah. It's a little late. I mean.
But I loved her response to that, which was like, oh, where is it? Her response is just like, that's not going to happen.
I'm not worried about that. That's not a problem.
I'm not worried about true love. That's not real.
I just had a thought that I think I should have had when we were talking about Wish. Okay, so to backtrack, if you haven't watched our Wish episode, backtrack a little bit here.
We fixed the whole movie.
We did. We fixed the whole movie. But, so supposedly Wish is supposed to be the beginning of all Disney, the Disney universe. So, what is it, the Marvel, MCU?
Yeah, MCU, the DCU.
That's what the Wish was supposed to be. It's not. It didn't do a good job of doing that. But that's what it was supposed to be. Now, I just had a thought, because we went on this whole tirade about the king having a dungeon randomly under his castle, all that. If it's supposed to tie back to Snow White, is the spell book the same? Is that the same magic book? We still don't know where it
Hold
came
on.
from, but is that the same evil magic book?
Well, I'm gonna say no because like Evil Queen had like a bunch of spell books
True.
up there. There was one that was like disguises, and she got that one out to like become the evil hag. And I don't remember specifically what the other books were, but I
Yeah.
remember them being very specific.
Yeah,
Of
okay.
like curses or like I truly
Yeah.
don't remember. But yes, it's probably from that same anthology of
Evil
books.
evil magic books.
Evil encyclopedias.
I love that. I love that. There's just an evil door-to-door salesman going around with a pack of evil encyclopedia magical books. Can I interest you in these? They're only $99 a piece.
Oh gosh.
Anyways,
Yeah, I
that's
think that's probably true.
for those
One thing-
for those children who don't know what we're talking about. Just go back and watch Friends, and you'll find that episode
What an
about
encyclopedia.
yeah. And that people used to go around and sell them door to door. So, anyways, that was before the internet.
We have just aged ourselves substantially. Okay, before we move on from the synopsis, though, I did just want to point out something that like really stuck out to me. The movie's an hour and a half, which it actually was longer than I remembered it. I thought it was going to be more like Dumbo length, which I feel like Dumbo's like 45 minutes or something.
Dumbo is
But-
the shortest Disney movie.
Super short.
Yep.
So it's an hour and a half, but like the synopsis you read, that doesn't miss anything, really. I mean, there's really 5 or 6 true plot points, but they just like stay on them.
Yeah.
Like it's such a simple story, but it just like the pace of the movie is so much different than what we're used to now. Which I mean, it's just a product of the time that it was created. But I haven't really sat down and watched and like paid attention to one of the old Disney movies in a while. These days I usually watch Disney movies like just as background noise.
Yeah.
So even if I've watched some of the older ones, like I'm not really sitting down and paying attention to it. So this project is kind of fun just because it's like getting me to do that.
Yeah.
And experience the movie in a different way. But yeah, I was just really struck by that, and it was really enjoyable and like simple and just kind of savored the moment.
It was refreshing.
Yes.
After
yeah.
Wish, for sure. At least for me. Just
Palate cleanser.
yeah. Well, it's a simple story. It's a simple story, simple plot, simple characters. There's no twist villain. I mean, I guess there kind of is a twist villain if you're Snow White specifically, because, oh, surprise, the hag's a villain, I guess. But the audience is not surprised by this villain.
Well, and also, Snow White actually never finds out that that's the evil queen. I mean, she probably does after the fact, but
Yeah.
she just goes into her slumber. And
Yep. then she wakes up. She's
"Oh,
like,
no, my slumber."
I just took a nap. Oh, there's a prince in front of me. How sweet. That's
Kisses.
That's fun. So.
Okay, one thing I was gonna ask you is, obviously this is the first Disney movie, but like when you turn it on, does it feel super old?
I mean,
You could say yes.
yes. It feels older for sure.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of everything is one dimension, character or story. I mean, and you could say the same about some of the more recent films, but even if we just compare it to like The Little Mermaid, which was the beginning of the Disney 80s, 90s Renaissance era, it feels older in like how they speak to each other, which they were going for a more European old school thing anyways, historically speaking. But I mean, you don't have any like the thing the genie does where he just like references like current events that are happening.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's not a thing.
There's no breaking of the fourth wall.
Yeah, and the fourth wall never gets broken. It's just a film. It is. Yeah. I would even go so far as to say, and I'm sure other people would agree with me, but it is a piece of art. It is a painting in a museum that everyone should look at and enjoy. It's beautiful.
Well, let's start our prompts. First prompt is, what is the classic Disney moment? Which, I mean, it's Snow White. So what isn't?
Yeah. It is the classic. The whole thing is a classic Disney moment.
Seriously.
Like I said,
what do you have for this though?
Yeah, like I said in Wish, the very first thing off the bat is the book at the beginning, opening up.
Which you actually have to read.
Yes.
Which, when I started watching the movie, I was still, like, pulling up my notes and, like, getting all settled. And then I was like, whoa, wait, hold up. I have to actually read this?
It is the only book opening that doesn't have narration. I checked.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm. The rest of them have narration.
You with your research.
I just checked the first, 4 Disney movies I could think of that had book openings. And the other one that I wrote down as a classic Disney moment is falling in love with the man you just met.
Classic. Giving the girls unrealistic expectations.
Yeah. At age 14, and however old the prince was.
Oh, yeah. Classic Disney. For me, and we can get into it more when we talk about the music, but I love these old Disney scores. Like the music behind the action, it's from a different era. It is literally from a different era of when they're tiptoeing up the stairs or whatever. Like the music matches the action. And I just think it's so fun, and as someone who majored in music and thought about going into film score, I love that style of, kind of like Looney Tunes. They do that sort of thing too, where it just matches up so perfectly, and to me that's classic Disney. Those early movies all did it.
Yeah.
And it makes my heart happy.
It is cool. And all of the old movies for sure kind of work with that, but a really good more modern example of the music going with whatever's happening on screen. I say modern, it's not modern anymore, but the Animaniacs series, it's same, Warner Brothers and all that, but their score for that show is ridiculous, and that's what they do. It matches whatever zany thing is going on, if it's scary or funny or light or whatever. And I don't know, I feel like we don't get that in our more modern Disney movies anymore. It's just it has to be big and grand or quiet or whatever, instead of
because it's so theatrical. It has to be this big blockbuster feel.
Yeah.
Whereas the cartoons of the past, or that Warner Brothers style, I bet there's a name for it. I just didn't look it up.
We're not paid for this, guys.
No, we got day jobs. We watched this. We both watched this last night at I don't know what time it was for you, but it was 11
It was late.
o'clock.
Yeah.
I fell asleep, so I had to finish it about an hour ago. But anyways, classic Disney, just the whole movie is. There's so many elements. Who's your favorite character?
This one was hard. I don't think I have a favorite character. Like, there's nobody I super latched on to, right? I think maybe when I was really, like, real little, when we were both very little, Snow White would have been the favorite just because she's the princess and she sings and she has animal friends and stuff. I like Grumpy.
She's more care.
Grumpy's fun. I like the Queen. She's interesting. Yeah. Like, they're all just, yeah.
The Queen was someone that, like, watching it this time, again, paying more attention, you know, there's Disney villains are iconic.
Yeah.
But I never think about the evil queen from Snow White. She's scary.
Oh, she's terrifying.
Just when she, like, first of all, kill my stepdaughter and bring me her heart in this little box.
Yep.
Unhinged.
Definitely.
And then towards at the end when she's in her little lair and like he's like, okay, she won't be dead. She'll just be asleep. But the dwarves will think she's dead and they'll bury her.
Yeah. No, she's unhinged. Well, she straight up walks past a skeleton in a cell. Like,
with the water just out of reach.
Yeah, no, that's...
Like, oh, you thirsty?
Yeah, she's crazy. Well, I wrote down my quote when she changes, when she's making her potions and stuff, and she goes off on, I don't know, whatever, it's in the book. But the last one, she's like, a thunderbolt to mix it well. Like, all right, we're summoning thunderbolts now, lightning, and...
It's scary.
Yeah, no, like, it's terrifying.
I think this is part of why I didn't watch Snow White very much growing up as a kid.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's super dark.
It is. It's very dark.
Like, I don't know when I'm gonna, like, I don't think Austin needs to watch this one for a bit. Like,
what?
Cut her heart out?
It's fine.
That's mean.
It's fine. And then when
Snow White's running through the woods, I remember that being scary.
I used to act that out.
Really?
Yeah, there's a video of me at age like 3 running around in a circle and then going, ah! And like falling to the ground. So obviously I was not perturbed by it until I was older and realized how terrifying it was.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't watch this movie a lot. I mean, obviously I had it. I watched it, but I feel like probably didn't gravitate towards this one. And this is just another, you know, I mean, from the beginning, Disney movies, well, from the beginning, they weren't made for kids. They only, like, I mean, they were made for families.
They were made
for
families,
kind of not really. I mean,
no, it's because we're all sissies now. Have you seen some of the movies that came out in the, like, I'm not even that, I mean, obviously not that far back because that was the first one, but in, like, the 70s, have you ever watched, like, The Last Unicorn or, like, there's a ton of them, but, like, the Lord of the Rings animated movies or The Secret of NIMS?
I watched that with you.
Yeah. Those movies are, okay, Lord of the Rings is kind of in its own thing. That one really wasn't for children. But, like, The Last Unicorn and The Secret of Nim and any Don Bluth film before Anastasia, just not really a good kids film. Like it was made for, I don't know if they were made for kids or not. They were made and they were rated and kids watched them because they were rated G.
Well, and because there was an association of animation with, like, kids movies.
Yeah. So, some of those animated movies were really unhinged. And those came out way later than Snow White did. So, I'm just saying.
You know, I guess, okay, I can show my son Snow White and say, okay, son, we don't cut people's hearts. This is an example of what we don't do.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember having that conversation with my mother. I think I just kind of was like, oh, the Queen's crazy. Moving on.
Okay. I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, it'll be fine. But yeah.
Okay, I put my favorite character as Dopey. Because he's just so cute.
He is very cute.
He's so cute, and I just enjoyed him. I feel like we'll get to favorite scenes, but I really like the dwarf scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And just like when they're, I guess I can jump there right now.
Best scene.
Favorite scene. Or yeah, best scene. I love when they come home for the first time. Like everything pretty much in between Hi Ho and up through the washing song. All of that stuff I just enjoy. Like it's just silly, and they're sneaking around, and Doc is trying to be like, okay, let's go, but then he's scared too, and so it's just Dopey having to go up the stairs and see her. Like, I don't know, all of that stuff just was like made my heart happy.
Yeah.
And it's the sort of thing that we talked about it last time, and we've talked about it a little bit already, but like if you're not really paying attention to the movie, then the movie's boring and you just like nothing's happening.
Yeah.
But to watch it with my phone down, like this is going to be the mission of The Mouse and the Goof, is watch movies without your phone.
Watch movies with intention.
This is my platform. Because there are just so many fun details, and I think the music in that section is really good. But I don't know, Dopey's just such a cute character and really fun.
Yeah.
I decided he's my favorite.
All right, that's fair. He's very cute too. I had a note written down for Grumpy.
Yeah.
Perfume. You're gonna start wearing perfume. I loved that. That was funny.
Why have we not gotten the film about the dwarfs? Like backstory or like prequel. Like,
I'm really wishing you weren't putting this out into the universe, because now we're gonna get one, and it's gonna turn out that they were in a war.
Obviously. I'd rather have that than live action remake of Snow White.
Oh, if it was animated, I'm 100% with you. I'm just saying it would end up being a live action live action story where they accidentally retcon a bunch of stuff that happens in the movie that doesn't. So, anyways, just be careful what you wish for.
Wish is just gonna be the through line.
I think so.
I don't know. I just want to know where these guys came from. Why are they all living together? Like.
Are they brothers? Are they just buddies? Like, they just hang out? Did they meet each other on Craigslist? Like, how did they? One of them owned a house. Is it like my brothers in college when they used to live in that one house with all those college boys that were gross and smelly? Like, and they just.
I don't remember this.
That it was early days. It was one of those things where it's like you walk into the house and there's just like boy clothes everywhere, and you're like, this place is gross. I don't want to sit down.
I do remember college. Yeah, I do remember college.
Okay, so best scene.
Anyways.
Best scene for me. I have a couple of things written down.
Yeah, go for it.
Here's my exact note that I wrote down. Sick opening with the villain. I don't know how many Disney movies open with the villain. I think maybe Cinderella. Sort of.
And this one.
But
this one does the book, and then it goes.
It immediately jumps to
Evil Queen with the Mirror.
Yep, immediately jumps to that. I think Cinderella has narration, and it doesn't immediately jump to the Lady Tremaine. And kind of this, like, as far as I can think, I don't think any other movie has done that. Like that. I mean, Maleficent's in Sleeping Beauty early on, but she doesn't start the movie.
No. No, the gifts. She comes in after, like, the gifts are given.
Yeah. So, I just thought that was really cool.
That's an interesting call out. I didn't notice that. Yeah.
And then I liked the expressive animals That's not really a scene. I just liked how expressive they were.
I did put, my note is the woodland creatures in this movie are iconic.
Yes, I agree.
Paved the way for all other woodland creatures.
They're just so cute. And they don't have to talk because they're so expressive. That's how you do it.
Yeah, there's like a little bird that's like shy.
Yeah.
And, like, no, they're so cute. So cute. Disney knows how to give animals emotions.
Yeah. Well, unless they're in a live action version of The Lion King. Anyways. And then I also...
We have a very strong position on this show about the live action.
Yeah. I feel like now we have to go back and watch all the live action ones. Just to get our opinions out there.
We have a lot to say.
We would. But let's...
It's always easier to be negative.
That's true. I don't want it to only be negative. We'll do that when we have less stuff to talk about.
When we're bored.
Yeah.
Or when our numbers go down.
Yeah.
To get views.
So I put one main thing I wrote down was the scene where Snow White, we kind of touched on this already, but when Snow White was running through the forest, I just thought that was very visually engaging. It's terrifying. As a child, don't necessarily recommend watching that scene when you're little. But, the eyes popping out, the stuff just, transforming in front of her from, looking like a weird tree to, a monster tree, and the crocodile thing. All of that whole scene is just really interesting. And you can feel that she is freaking out. She is so upset. She's just been told that... Well, she just almost got murdered by her guard, and then told by her guard that her stepmother wants to kill her. And also, I want to remind everyone, like I said earlier, she's 14.
Well, and what I want to know is, were things always contentious? Clearly she's a princess, but she's, in her rags at the beginning washing steps, so it probably is a little bit of a Cinderella situation of, you work for me kind of thing. But, so did she know that her stepmother had it out for her? Or was she just, blissfully, la-dee-da-dee-da, I like cleaning, and now I sing in the wishing well.
So, I actually have...
But, yeah, that's, scary.
I have 3 different sources that I could reference there.
Okay.
3 different takes. So one of them, and none of these are canon necessarily, but these are all perspectives on that question that you just asked. One of them was Once Upon a Time, that series.
Oh, I've never seen that. That's been on my list for a long time.
I watched a good chunk of it, and then I stopped watching it sometime around when Rapunzel was on the show. And then completely lost interest when they were like, here's Frozen exactly. Because they did that. Because before it was like, ooh, it's all these characters, but they're not exactly the same. They're actually kind of different. And then they're like, here's Elsa. Anyways. But so in that version, and it's old, so I don't quite remember it, but the evil queen was not evil. She was she had some baggage that she just didn't ever deal with, and then she turned evil through some bad decisions and terrible things that happened to her, and then she just took it out on Snow White. Yeah, exactly. No. So that was kind of the route. Now I might be forgetting because it's been 10 years since I've watched it, but
right.
But then there's also 2 books. One of them is it's one of my favorites. I had 3 of these. They were from the movies, sort of based on the movies. They were the villain's side of the story. And the book.
Oh, I think.
Yeah.
I texted you about those books probably over a year ago, didn't I? About, should I read any of these?
So that was a different book that you're talking about. that was the other book I was going to reference. So the one I'm talking about was a fully illustrated book that you would flip back and forth. One side was like the hero side of the story, and the other side was the villain side of the story. My mom has these, and they were
like it was a kid's book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were hilarious. So there was Evil Queen and Snow White, and then there was Ursula and Ariel, and then there was a third one I don't remember. It might have been Maleficent or Jafar or something, or Hades. I don't know. It was one of those. I'll have to look. But so the Evil Queen side of the story is hilarious because she's all like, I was just trying to make sure that Snow White didn't grow up to be like super like ditzy and what's the other word, like spoiled. I wanted to make sure that she was a well-rounded child that worked hard. And yeah, she leaves out that part. But yeah, so that was yeah, she forgot that part. Same thing with Ursula. It was like, I was trying to do her a favor. Like that's essentially how the story goes. But so there's that. I love those. I'll have to look. I'll have to send you a picture of those. So then my other reference is the one you were talking about. That one's the I forget what the book series is called.
Are they called like Twisted?
Yeah, I think they're called Twisted Tales. So that one was probably the Evil Queen one was probably the most interesting. So there's a whole there's an overarching story. So all of the villain stories are actually connected, which is kind of interesting. The problem is that the first half of all of the books, all of the villains are really interesting, and then the second half just fall off and are really boring and not interesting anymore. And maybe it's because they set up all of this plot, and then they have to shove everything into the movie. Like what happened from the movie into the end of the book. So it just gets rushed and doesn't feel very satisfying at the end. So thus Snow White's the Evil Queen's whole thing is that I think she's magical. She marries the king and she has a really good relationship with Snow White, but she starts hanging out with the mirror, and the more she hangs out with the mirror, the more like crazy she gets. So that's essentially, to answer your question, those are some of the ideas that a few people have come up with that I find interesting.
Oh, I love it. Because we get thrown into like the middle of the story, especially with this type of movie, which we talked about, has like just these few plot points, and we don't get any of the context. Like, we don't really know anything about Snow White, except we see her washing the steps. She's like, you don't know all that much. It's just like, okay, super vain queen who is evil. And go.
Yeah. Which sometimes I'm okay with that. I'm more often okay with that now than I used to be. But yeah.
Totally, because you can't, if you try to explain every single point, well, and we talked about this with Wish, it's the idea of like, you just show it. And you trust that your audience is smart enough to fill in the holes, and that they don't have to be told all the details. They don't, like, we don't even know. I don't think we even know the Queen's relationship to Snow White, except that like, when I first started watching it, my husband was here and he was sitting on the couch, and I'm like, you don't have to stay. I was like, but you can stay and provide your snarky comments. Like, that will be helpful to my note-taking.
Yeah.
So the movie starts, and the first, like, time when the queen is like, go kill her, all we know is that the evil queen is the queen, and Snow White is the princess. And I was like, is she killing her daughter? It's like, wait, that can't be right. It's not till later when Snow White is talking to the dwarves that she says it's her stepmom. But like, they just know that the audience will figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have to spoon feed everything. Whereas movies today, or not even movies today, bad movies have to tell you everything.
Yeah. That's even a rule in movie making. Show, don't tell. Yeah. Show it to me. Don't tell it. If you want to tell it to me, write it in a book.
And that's why I know, like, that's why I even know to comment on that in the movies, because it's so well known. But, like, in Wish, there were so many moments where it's like, we need to have someone narrate this, basically narrate this part.
We need a bunch of exposition. Which, there is exposition in Snow White. There is a lot of exposition in Snow White, but it's delivered well. It is people actually talking to each other in a conversation, and that's how the exposition is given, rather than it feeling like it's being dumped on the audience. Even though it's supposed to be in a conversation. Anyways. So, worst scene, did you even have one?
Not for, like, oh, it was badly done, but, like, just for, oh, that was sad and uncomfortable. The huntsman about to kill Snow White, and then he's like, oh. Yeah. The huntsman just makes me uncomfortable. I don't know why, but just, like, his look and stuff, like, I just don't really like him all that much. And so, him, like, about to...
Yeah.
And then the breakdown, and then just run away. Yeah. Like, help her. You know?
Yeah. I think he's doing his best in the moment. Like, he knows what's gonna happen to him as soon as the queen finds out.
Yeah, so. Sure. And he goes and kills the pig and brings the pig heart to try to, like, give her more time. But that's the worst scene only because, like, ooh.
Yeah. It's creepy.
What did
you unsettling. I didn't really have a worst scene. I wrote down that I don't like Dopey's scream.
Is that towards the? Which part is it?
It's towards the.
Like match him at all?
Yeah, it's towards the. It's towards the. When they send him up to go see what's in the room. By himself, and Snow White, like
too deep of a scream.
Yeah.
I
was like, I don't like that. I was like, it doesn't match. It doesn't match his body. So that's what I wrote down. Nothing really deep. It was just like, it makes me uncomfortable. I don't like that.
What's your favorite song?
I'm pretty partial towards I'm wishing. I also like whistle while you work. That one's just cute.
That's the one that I put because I mean music when you work does make it better. And like I never clean without music.
Yeah.
Very rarely. I mean like something. If I'm like cleaning, I'm like it's Saturday morning and I need to clean this place up. Blast the music. Honestly, very often Disney music. This is not just something we're putting on for the show. Like, it's very often Disney music or like early 2000 hits or Taylor Swift. Okay, but anyways,
I love that.
Also, I really like With a Smile and a Song.
That one's a good one.
That's one that I want to sing.
Yeah. Like,
think about how much better that song would be with, like, anyone else singing it but her. You know?
You're not a fan?
What, should we talk about her voice?
You're not a fan of the voice? So is this under the what they could do better section for you?
Yes, I didn't have an answer. I don't think I had an answer for that. But yes, this is... No, I didn't. I didn't answer that question. This is what they could have done better.
Okay.
But I did find a quote, thank you, Wikipedia, from Walt himself. Walt Disney himself. On the casting of... I don't know exactly how she pronounces her name. Adriana Castellati.
Good. Sounds like a good attempt.
Okay, but I'm gonna read this. He said, allegedly, based on Wikipedia, I wanted to get a voice for Snow White that would be kind of away from every day. You know, kind of off in another world. And I was hunting for a certain quality voice. So I had a boy searching for voices. He went everywhere. I wanted someone who could sing too because I was going to use a lot of songs. Blah, 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 blah. he listened to her voice, said that's perfect, and said she sounds to me like a 14-year-old girl.
Mm-hmm.
And the boy who found her was like, well, she's 18. And, but she came from an operatic family. Could do all this beautiful bird-like stuff.
Yeah.
So I signed. So, anyways, if he was going for, off in another world, certainly a world I'm not interested in being in, but it's so obnoxious.
You don't like
Am I
it?
wrong?
You don't like having it all? I don't know. It doesn't bother me because
Really?
it
Is it really not?
it probably is. Like, I could ask Kyle and he probably would say it was obnoxious. It doesn't bother me because it's so ingrained in me because I loved Snow White when I was little. It was just, it was my thing. She had dark hair. She sang, she ran around and fell over. Like, I could do that at 3 years old, And I loved everything about that movie, except maybe the the evil queen parts. But it's just a piece of my history, so it doesn't bother me. But I can see how it would bother people. I can tell that I can't hit those notes anymore when I try to go that high. I'm more just impressed that she can hit those notes. But I can see how it's annoying because it's high pitched. If it were today, like if this movie came out today and I tried to watch it as an adult, I probably wouldn't care for it.
No. I literally, my note is, was her voice desirable at the time? Like, maybe there's this was what good operatic singing sounded. It's just like the amount of vibrato is so intense.
Yeah. It is. It's very but they're also going for otherworldly. Yeah. So.
Yeah, which achieved. And yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's just it is. When I listen to Disney music, which, as I've mentioned a couple times, is a lot, if these songs come on,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
It's okay. That's okay. You're allowed to skip.
Are we also going to insert the audio for Someday My Prince Will Come?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you don't like Snow White's version of Someday My Prince Will Come, Ashley and I did a version when we were what did we decide? We were
we had to be
10, 11, 13, somewhere.
No.
12.
Yeah, I think we were 12 or 13 because I think it was right around the time when I moved.
Yeah. I had a cassette tape.
I came up with it right before.
I had a tape player.
Cassette tape longer than you probably needed one.
Probably. I still have it. If that, I don't use it actively, but I still have that cassette tape.
Stick around to the end of the episode to hear the new and improved
Snow White song.
Year would it have been? It would have been
23 to 2003-ish, 2004.
Which we're so old.
We are so old. I wrote down for what they could do better. I wrote, I think I would have liked Snow White to not be 14. If they just gotten her to maybe 17, I would feel a little less uncomfortable with the prince scenes. Not uncomfortable. Okay, that sounds weird. It's coming from my perspective as an adult in the year 2024. Just dated this video, but watching the prince just kind of pop out of nowhere is creepy to me. Now, when I was a kid, I didn't care, and I'm not saying I want to change the whole movie or anything. I just would prefer if Snow White wasn't riding off on a horse with her prince at age 14.
Why do we know that she's 14? Is that from the movie? I don't think that comes up in the movie. Is that from the original fairy tale, or is that just something that Disney has said later on?
I mean, in that quote you just read, he said she sounds 14.
Yeah, I did just read that. Good point.
Here we go. how do we know Snow White is? There's no record of Disney ever stating Snow White was 14. So there's technically not an indication of that anywhere. But that statement of her sounding 14 makes it weird to me. So maybe she is older. But
no, I think that's generally accepted. Like, I've seen other things that talk about the ages of the princesses.
It's not necessarily canon, but it's accepted. Kind of like everybody accepts that the beast's name is Adam. Like, where did that come from? Nobody knows where that came from. Yeah, no, his name is Adam. Really? This has been, like, widely accepted.
I know his name is Adam,
yeah.
But
it's never mentioned anywhere ever. We just all know it. I don't know why we know it. I don't know how.
We need to research that more before.
Yeah, so anyways, it's just everyone kind of accepts that she's 14, which just makes everybody feel uncomfortable. I am a fan of marrying a man you just met only in Disney films. Only in Disney films. Not in real life.
You heard it here. Jess is a fan of marrying a man you just met. Do it. It could work for you. It worked for Snow White.
It worked for Snow White.
Know that they got married.
It's true.
Honestly, the ending scene. So last night when I watched it, I fell asleep around the time when all the dwarfs were falling asleep. Just looking back at my notes, that's literally where it lined up. Mm-hmm. And I woke up, and Snow White and the prince are riding off into the clouds. And I was like, are they just dead? Like, are they just... And so when I went back and, like, the evil queen explains the spell and that she's not really dead. But for a second I was like, maybe the whole end of the movie is just, like...
It's an allegory for death.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not real, and they're just, like, riding off into, you know, heaven.
That gives everything a really weird vibe at the beginning,
but
man.
It looks weird. Like, why wouldn't you just have them ride to an actual castle wherever the prince came from? Like, who's the prince? We know nothing about this dude.
He doesn't have a name.
I know.
He has no name. He's just the prince. Maybe his name is Prince. Prince.
The original. The original prince.
The original prince.
Okay, what do you want to talk about with the animation?
Okay, so I have a few things. There's a video that I sent you that I'm going to post in the link to this in the video. Mm-hmm. It just kind of...
I did start watching it, but the only thing I got from it, because I was trying to, like, clean up dinner and stuff, was, man, I love how people talked back then. Like, just the voice of the announcer guy, like...
Yeah, it's great. But yeah, it goes into way more depth than we have time and knowledge to go into. But, so a few things, I guess. So the whole movie itself, they started working on this movie in 1934. They didn't actually start animating anything until 1936. So there was a bit of a gap between the start and the actual production of the film. And most of the animators had no artistic training. Yeah. Some of them worked on...
Time to get in.
Right? For real, though. There's so many just, like, coffee runners that ended up becoming, like, part of the ink and paint crew. Or, like, learning how to become software developers or whatever. They didn't have to get a college degree or anything like this. That was later, the software thing. That was way later. But like the ink and paint people or just animators, it's like, can you hold a pencil? All right, you're hired. You want to put your whole career on this and maybe not have any money? All right, you can work for us. Some of them were newspaper cartoonists at best. Only a couple of them were trained at all. In the arts. So the type of animation that they used for a couple of the characters is called rotoscoping, which is, I just wrote down the definition, is tracing over motion picture footage. They didn't do a whole lot of that if they could avoid it, because it kind of like some of the head animators were against doing that because they felt like it kind of cramped the artistic style and creativity, like it would hinder it. But they ended up having to do it a little bit anyways because none of them knew what they were doing. But so Snow White, the Queen, and the Prince were all rotoscoped for sure. So that they basically had live actors acting out scenes, and then they would trace over it and color it and all that stuff.
I know I've seen a lot of footage of that, probably more so from like Alice in Wonderland and Peter Pan. You see a lot of old footage of those actors.
Yeah. Let me see. This isn't animation, but it's a fun fact. Disney had to mortgage his house to help finance the film.
I think that paid off.
Yeah, I think so too. So, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, just to jump in.
Mm-hmm.
As I was watching it, obviously it's the first. And so clearly, like, you turn it on, it does feel older. Like, it does feel old. But even still, there are so many moments that don't feel old. And maybe it's just because you've seen so many Disney films and, like, you know, you see the progression throughout. So, you know, Snow White goes to Pinocchio, goes to Bambi, goes to Dumbo. You know, like, it progresses. But there are moments, like I think of the mirror, the magic mirror. Those sequences, those look old. Like, they're kind of doing some special effect kind of stuff. That looks old. But when I see, like, the animation of the woodland creatures and stuff, like the ones that are expressing, you know, emotion, no, that doesn't look that old to me. Like, that stands up. You know, now if you put it side by side with something from Wish or whatever, you would be able to say, yeah, that's the old one. But it's so timeless in that way. I don't know, do you feel that way?
I think so. I think that's one of the things I love about animation is that it is timeless. I mean, you can kind of tell, but
of course.
Something I truly love about older animation is you can see the human on paper. You can see the person sat down there and drew 200,000 something frames.
Insane to me. I don't know how anyone has that kind of patience.
Especially in movies. So Snow White is actually very clean. I don't know if that's something that's happened like more recently, like when it got released on VHS.
Like
yeah, and the film itself may have gotten cleaned up. But in movies, like if you go back and watch Sword in the Stone, that movie is a lot more gritty, line art wise,
sure.
Which I personally love that. Now I love a good clean line, but I don't know. There's something about that. It's like you can tell somebody poured their heart and soul into this movie, and a lot of CGI films don't feel like that to me. The newer ones especially. Some of the older ones I feel that because they were also experimenting. Like Toy Story is a good example of that. And you just have more. You're able to suspend your disbelief easier in an animated film than you are in a live action film. I think that's why a lot of the live action remakes just feel weird. They don't feel right because I'm having trouble suspending my disbelief.
That's an interesting point. Yeah. Well, and especially because these live action films that Disney's doing have the fantasy element to them. So, yeah, that's an interesting point that if you go all animated, you can suspend that a little more.
Okay, so a couple of things.
Yeah, go for it.
So Disney used a multi-plane camera to do the animation in order to make it look, or like record it, film it, whatever, to make it smooth and lifelike. So I'm gonna post a picture of what this thing looks like. It is massive. Have you seen what this thing looks like?
Yeah, they have it at Disneyland.
It's crazy.
Don't they have it at Disneyland, or am I thinking of something different?
Yeah.
In the when you go to the Great Moments with I'm not saying that right.
Mr. Lincoln?
With
With
Right,
Lincoln.
yeah.
Mr. Lincoln? President Lincoln? What is his name?
Mr. with Buddy Lincoln. But they have a lot of like Disney memorabilia. I think they have it in there.
They
Maybe
probably
it's not
do.
The that you're talking about.
I haven't been in that in a long time, but yeah.
Well, come visit me. Let's go.
Okay.
Research for the show.
Can we use our travel budget that we definitely have?
Yeah, let me work it in.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. But yeah, it's super cool.
Like and subscribe so that we can afford to go to Disney.
So I guess I will throw a picture up. It's a bunch of cameras layered on top of each other. And you have to open the camera and slide this transparent pieces in, and it's a whole thing. It's really interesting. Go watch the video that I'm posting in the whatchamacallit description. So there were 200. Hold on. I'm really bad at reading numbers. I said it earlier. There were just a crazy amount of individually drawn cells. 250,000. Did I say that right? It was just a lot. It was crazy.
I don't know. That sounds like a lot to me.
Let's see. This one's kind of interesting. So a lot of the sketches, like the first round of like art drawings, were done by the dudes, by men. And then there's a whole nother building dedicated to the ink and paint department, which was just women. Which I think is kind of hilarious. But the ink and paint girls, as they were so fondly called, were picked because they were a lot better at focusing in on details that Walt wanted, and coloring. So while the guys were just is not the right word. They were also working just as hard, but they were also being paid more than the ink and paint girls. Let's not get into that. But the women were just more detail oriented when it came to painting the actual pictures. I read on Wikipedia somewhere that they had to find the specific shade of paint to get Snow White's cheeks to be red. And they had to use a cotton swab and whatever color the paint was, and they had to do it for every single scene she was in. And
the amount of patience required to be involved in this process is beyond. It's
crazy. The backgrounds were painted in watercolor, which is what
watercolors and
that's what Wish was trying to go for, and it just didn't. I mean, it doesn't feel like the same.
Didn't like.
I wasn't a huge fan of the color palette of Wish. It was very. I finally came up with what I was thinking, and I didn't say last time. You know the sad beige Instagram account.
Yeah.
Sad beige Disney film for sad beige moms. That's kind of how I feel about the color scheme.
Which is probably why I like it so much.
So, anyways, those were the main like animation points and fun facts that I had written down. The movie, I don't know if this includes with inflation, but the movie itself says it made $418 million, like USD. Now, Kyle and I weren't sure if that was post or pre-inflation, but because if it was if that doesn't account for inflation, then that means it made like $4 trillion or something crazy like that. This was box office, not everything.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I read that it's like adjusted for inflation, still one of the highest grossing animated films. It's iconic. It's iconic. So I feel like I talked about the music already, like the overall music. I don't really feel like I have anything more to add to that, except that the style is just like of a different era that I love. So that's all I have for that. Do you have anything more that you want to add, or should we go to our rating?
That's all I have written down. So we can rate our film. Would you like to give our rating?
Oh, you want me to spell it out?
Yeah.
As a reminder?
Spell out the ratings. I think you should do this in each episode. Just
yeah. Okay, so here's our scale. At the bottom, kind of the failing grade would be one-time watch. That's it. Think of movies like, I don't know, Wish. One-time watch. Next level up is, I won't turn the TV off if it's on. Someone else has turned it on. You're in the room. Fine. I'll watch it. Kind of our average rating is it's a lovely background movie. Like, pretty neutral, but like, I'm cleaning the house. I'll turn that on. That's fine. Level above that, we're getting a little higher. Watching once a year is not enough. But that's all I have time for because I'm an adult with a job. So, that resonates with you. And then top tier is my kids will love this movie whether they like it or not. I'm investing in that.
Yeah.
I'm going to make that happen.
It's going to be
so
fond memory for them when they're older.
For sure. So, Jess, where does Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? Where does that rate for you?
I wrote it's a combo. I won't turn it off if it's on already. It's also, I guess that's where we're at. I'm gonna cut the other one. I was gonna put it's a good background movie, but I honestly am never gonna turn Snow White on as a background movie. If I'm gonna watch Snow White, I'm gonna sit down and watch it. So, like, if it's on, I'll watch it. And if I'm just feeling super nostalgic or I'm curious, I'll turn it on myself. But otherwise, it's not a go-to, but I'm fond of it.
Yeah, I put lovely background movie. I'm kind of silly. Whereas Jess has her favorite like Disney movies that she'll turn on all the time, like I'm assuming. I want to give love to all the Disney movies. So I've done things like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm so weird. I do things like random number generators to like tell me which movie to watch.
All right.
Because I don't want to make a decision, and I just want like the universe to tell me what to watch, or Google random number generators. So I watch a lot of movies that I wouldn't necessarily be like, oh, I'm in the mood to watch Snow White today. But I really enjoyed it. I really was happy to go back to it today or yesterday and like watch it and experience it in a like way that I was paying attention and just had good elements, and it's where it all started. Like, you have to give respect to it. There's not a whole lot of criticism you can give to like a movie that started an empire. I mean, really? Is that too dramatic?
I'm gonna insert some Star Wars stuff here. But yeah, no, really though, like, in all seriousness, I don't think animation would be what it is today if it weren't for Snow White.
It was such, I mean, it's a film.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just all he had, or not all he had done, but what Disney had done before were these shorts that were fun. And one thing we didn't get to, which we're wrapping up, but like the humor of it is smart. Like, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's cute animated humor, but it's not stupid humor.
There's no fart jokes.
Right. That wasn't a thing. These are respectable adults dressing up and going to the movie theater. Like, it doesn't have to be slapstick for it to be, make you laugh. There's a scene when the dwarfs are all falling asleep and a little fly comes and lands on his nose and gets like all comfortable.
Yeah.
And like, that's silly. That's funny. That's not in an adult movie.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah, it's
it's
wholesome.
It's wholesome. And that humor is throughout. Obviously there's some gags with like the dwarfs and stuff, but it's just, they're smarter gags. Yeah. It's a good movie.
And I feel like we don't necessarily give Snow White herself enough credit, because like a lot of what you think of is her voice, and just like she fell in love with a man she just met. But she's super hopeful, despite the fact that she just found out that her stepmother's trying to kill her. She's moved in with a bunch of men that she's cleaning up after, and she's happy to do it. Like, she's like, you're letting me stay here, I'm gonna do this kind thing for you. So she's very kind. She's very sweet, but she's also a little sassy. She gives Grumpy some sass. Like, oh, did you hurt yourself? Go straight outside and wash your hands. Like, she's not getting pushed around by these men. And I don't think we remember that when we think of Snow White. True. So I just want to remind people before the new live action Snow White comes out and runs everything. Just Snow White needs more credit than she's given. And some of those things that I just said about Snow White are the same things that I said about Asha and Wish, but I have more investment in Snow White.
Yeah.
She's a more interesting character, and she probably has less screen time. Just saying. So.
Yep. It's true.
I'm going to slam Wish until the end of time. I feel bad.
That's going to be our through line. For our show. Until we get a new movie that we can slam.
Yeah.
All right, this has been fun.
Yeah. We will look forward to seeing the next episode. We'll probably decide what we're watching in the middle of the week.
Sounds good. All right.
Yeah.
Talk to you next time.
This has been the Mouse and the Goof.
Mouse and the Goof.